see you guys in the dark.
So this happened a few weeks ago, and if it doesn't belong here, I will remove it. I'm 24, female, and probably couldn't defend myself against a 10-year-old. I went to the grocery store to pick up some things the other night. When I got to the register, there was a man helping bag my groceries while the cashier was checking me out. I was buying some dog treats, and he asked me what kind of dog I had. I told him that I have a golden doodle. I have a golden doodle, but my boyfriend happens to have a German Shepherd. And he said, "Oh my God, me too." I didn't really get an off vibe from him, but he would stare and not break eye contact at all. I chalked it up to him missing social cues and just trying to be friendly. After I paid, he started pushing the cart for me out the door. This isn't uncommon. They typically help you put your things to your car. I have social anxiety and feel very awkward and guilty having them do that for me. But I always say, "I'm good, but thank you so much." And every other time they said, "Okay, have a good one." When I said I'm good to this guy, he said, "No, I got it," very bluntly, and stared at me the whole time. I instantly got a bad vibe. It was about 8 at night, and barely anyone was there. He said, "Well, my shift is over, so I'm walking to my car anyway." Weird, because he didn't clock out, but maybe he had before he did the last checkout. He was very talkative in the store, asking tons of questions about my dog and telling me about his. But when we got outside, he barely said much. I started asking questions about his dog because I felt anxious with the silence, but I really regret that. He took it as an interest. He immediately said, "Well, if you give me your number, you can meet him," and just stared yet again. I said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I don't give my number to strangers." I didn't want to say no because I have a boyfriend, because it seemed like he might get angry over that. I don't know, just the feeling in the moment. We had loaded all the groceries into my trunk, and I was thinking, thank God I can get out of here now. But no, the cart was between me and him, and he was positioned on the driver's side. So in order for me to get to my door, I would have to go past him. I said, "Well, I have to go home. My dog is waiting for his treats." He just stared. I realized I was going to have to go past him if I wanted to leave. So I looked around to see if anyone else was in the parking lot, in case something more had happened. No one. I started to get extremely nervous. He could push the cart into me, or just grab me himself. I've had a traumatic experience before, and my problem is I don't have fight or flight, just freeze. Just like that, he walked away, pushing the cart to where they were returning in the parking lot. I took the chance to get in my car, and I locked the door immediately. I wish I had left then, but I needed a moment to breathe. I saw in my side mirror him getting into his car. I quickly put the car in drive, and I drove out. The exit is a stoplight, and just my luck, it's red, and I'm turning left. I see his car right behind mine, not even 30 seconds later. I panicked, but then thought, he said he's going home. It's nothing. I only live 2 minutes from the grocery store. I made the turn, and he was hanging back. I didn't put my blinker on for the next turn. He made it too. The next turn was a stoplight, then the turn for my road. As I get to the light, it's red again. I thought maybe I should drive to a police station just in case, but as soon as that thought came, the light went green. My boyfriend and I only moved here 2 months ago, so I couldn't think in my head how to get to the station, and I'm terrible at using my phone while driving. I'm not even 30 seconds from the last turn onto our street. Our street is a dead end with only 4 houses on it. It's very long, and we are at the end of it. No one goes down it unless they live there or are lost. I turn, and he makes the turn too. Fuck, I think. I literally just directed him to my house. Thankfully, I have Bluetooth, so I called my boyfriend up. I said, "A guy from the grocery store is following me. Turn all the lights on, open the gate, and let Nick out." Nick is his German Shepherd, and he was trained to be a German police dog, and then got extra bite training. He can hold someone for up to 6 hours. So now knowing he was outside, I wasn't nervous at all. I was nervous that my boyfriend wouldn't have gotten the gate opened in time, and I would have to either sit in my car or get out fast and put the code in. As I pulled up, I saw the gate was opened, thank God. My boyfriend was on the front porch with Nick on the leash. I'm not trying to have someone killed unless necessary, and has his gun in the air. I fly through and down the driveway. This dude follows. Does he not see the gun and the guard dog? Well, he did at that moment, because my boyfriend let Nick go, and he charged the guy's car, jumped up at the driver window, frothing at the mouth, showing all of his teeth and hair on the back standing up. He looked terrifying even to me, and he was protecting me at this point. I gave Nick his command to come back, hoping this guy got the hint that if he gets out of the car, he will die. He did. He reversed that car so fast out of the driveway, he nearly hit the gate. I collapsed on the front porch and hugged my boyfriend. Nick got a steak for dinner that night. I reported the man to the grocery store because I remembered his name on his name tag purposefully. They later contacted me that he had been served the termination papers. This happened back when I was in college about 7 or 8 years ago. I went to a community college in a relatively small town. With it being a small town, there was not really much to do if you were a night owl under the legal drinking age. My friends and I would frequently have late-night adventures consisting of long walks at 2 a.m. or going to a 24-hour grocery store. Not the most exciting or smartest thing to do, but at the time, we thought it was better than being cooped up in a dorm all night. One night, me and 2 other friends, Kate and Elliot, decided we were going to the grocery store for snacks and to mess around a little. We left our dorm at around 1 a.m. or so there weren't very many people around other than a few workers and some random customers. My friends and I were down the pet aisle, joking around. Kate and I dared Elliot to stick his head through one of the cat toys. He tried, but couldn't fit, and said, "My head is too big for the hole." Before we could respond, some skinny, seedy-looking guy with a shaved head popped out of nowhere and breathily said, "I've heard that before," while leering at Kate and me. None of us really knew how to respond to this creep, so we just awkwardly laughed and got the heck away from him. Later, as we continued to walk around the store, we kept seeing this guy everywhere. He was following us, but trying to be casual and not obvious about it, and doing a very terrible job because we noticed right away and kept trying to get away from him. We were really sketched out at this point, so we decided to check out and leave. I noticed that he also just happened to finish up his shopping and was checking out nearby. Kate decided we should slow down a bit and let him leave before we did. He finished up and walked out of the store. We thought we were finally rid of this weirdo. After we exited the store and got into the car, we noticed a rusty Jeep idling across a parking lot with its lights on. Kate, who was driving, put the car in drive and started to pull out of her space. Suddenly, the Jeep revved and tore across the parking lot right at us. She freaked out and floored it. Both cars raced across the nearby empty parking lot until she sped out onto the main road. Thankfully, we had a bit of a head start on this guy, and she was able to pull into a subdivision where we finally lost him. We drove around the subdivision for a little bit, and after about 10 minutes without seeing this guy, we went back to the college. Thankfully, never had an experience like this again. These encounters happened early in 2016. I live in Perth, Western Australia, and I live in the suburb of Palmyra at the time. The local supermarket was called Woolworths, and it was conveniently situated right across the road from mine and my girlfriend's house at the time. Obviously, groceries were a necessity, and one day I was smoking outside in the car park of the grocery store, reading a book on criminal psychology. I was in my own world when I felt someone tap me on the shoulder and ask for a lighter. She was one of the shop's employees on her break. She had a shoulder-length brunette hair and dark eyes, around the same age as myself. We started chatting casually as we were smoking, and she looked at my book with curiosity, explaining that serial killers had always fascinated her, I agreed, as criminology and true crime has been one of my favorite topics since I was a teenager. She suddenly got this weird smile across her face and told me that she'd actually written a book about serial killers. The hairs on my arms stood to an end when I brushed it off as just being cold, as it was quite windy that day. She said she had to go back to work, but that I should come by some other day and chat crime stories. Then she took my hand and told me her name was Gemma. Looking back, I got a strange feeling from her, a slight, uncomfortable twist in the gut that I just passed off as her seeming to be a bit of an outcast, socially. She just seemed a bit different, quirky, but nothing that was overly concerning. Over the next few weeks, I saw Gemma sporadically, and even had a few coffees with her at Smoke Break. We didn't really talk about anything personal. She was very guarded and vague if I asked personal questions, but she would talk my ear off about music, serial killers, and crime stuff. She had her favorite killers that she found most interesting. One particular incident that stood out to me was when she was debating the use of the penalty in America, when she grabbed my arm out of the blue and said, "Don't you ever want to know how it feels like to end somebody?" I was taken aback, as it was such a direct question, and one I could never think of doing, let alone feeling. I shrugged my shoulders and said no way. I'd rather be a criminal psychologist and help put serial killers away. She just stared off into the distance and said, "I think I could do it, if I really wanted to." Work started to get really busy for the next few months, and I didn't see Gemma after that. I asked some of the other employees, but they just said she was on holiday. Shortly after that, I moved out of that house, so never visited that shop again. I really never gave her another thought. I was very shocked to see and read news articles a year and a half later that she and an older female friend had ended an autistic teenager, and she was in prison awaiting a sentence. It made my blood run cold. I always look back and feel really horrified that I even broached the subject of criminology with her. I've been interested in wanting to know why criminals behave in certain ways. I'm now studying psychology at uni, but it gives me a sick feeling to think that that was the subject of our conversations. I feel so bad for the guy's family. It's just so tragic. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, like, and hit the bell for notifications on future videos, and become a stalker of the night. And I'll see you next time.